I'm delighted to be talking about Dara Eklund today. She was born as Beverly Ann Rittenhouse on April 16th, 1933, in the household of David Lloyd Rittenhouse and his wife, Helen. And she later had a younger brother, William. Her father worked in the oil drilling business and as a plumbing contractor. Her mother was a bookkeeper for a commercial bakery. The family always lived in the Los Angeles area and were active in the United Lodge of Theosophists. I was forgetting to advance my slide there. Beverly Ann Rittenhouse changed her name when she was a teenager. In those years, there was an advertising blitz for Beverly Peanut Butter. And to get away from the teasing at school, she took the name Dara. I don't know the exact reason she selected that name, but the word has beautiful meanings in several languages. She attended Manual Arts High School and then took a degree in teaching at UCLA. In 1961, she married Robert Eklund and took classes also at UCLA in librarianship. Her son Dana was born the next year. The marriage ended after 5 years, and then Dara became a single mother working in the Los Angeles public libraries. Dana also became a librarian. As you can see from the photos, Dara was joyful and playful. Here she's swinging with Dana. And here in another swing and on a scooter and riding on a camel. Dara loved being out in natural settings. At the right, the right here, she is combining several of her favorite pastimes. Being with Dana, enjoying nature, and reading a book. She loved books, and she was not shy of advertising that on her clothing. You can see the slogan, "Save the books and read." Dara found in Nicholas Weeks for life and for theosophical work. They married in 1986. Here is a family gathering in 1989, and here is Dara as a grandmother. However, today we're celebrating Dara Eklund not as a lovely person and a fond wife, mother, and grandmother, but as a theosophist. At Manual Arts High School, two of her classmates were James Colbert and Sally Meeker, who all became lifelong friends. Dara and Jim were leaders in the ULT's youth group, Theosophical Pathfinders, which met every Saturday. Songs, plays, and readings gave the youth a sense that theosophical teachings were to be used in everyday living. On Sundays, their families all attended theosophy school. Dara met Boris Zirkov at the home of a ULT friend. She wrote then she became acquainted with the Point Loma tradition and began studying the work of Gottfried de Purucker. She started assisting Boris with his work on the collected writings of H.P. Blavatsky, and that worked for many years. In the 1950s, Boris was editing a new edition of Isis Unveiled. He relied heavily on research assistance from a woman in London, Mary Stanley. They exchanged dozens of letters in which he has specific details about quotations and bibliographic references. He responded after visiting university libraries in the British Museum. He wrote to Mary Stanley in 1958, asking her to receive a visit from Dara Rittenhouse. Here's portions of that letter. One of my associates and helpers, Miss Dara Rittenhouse, age about 23, is going on to be on a trip to Europe in the next few days and weeks. What I thought was important in this letter is Laura said, she is worth knowing, very quiet and very deep. You may have seen some of her articles in Theosophia. But it's better. Thank you. Anyway, back to Dara being introduced by Boris Zirkov to Mary Stanley. He said of her, she has been a very great help here in typing, doing research work, etc. Trained in theosophy from childhood in the ULT, but has become dissatisfied with them as so many others have, and is just now discovering the deeper levels of theosophy in GDP's work, writings. A few years later, he wrote another letter to Mary Stanley, one of hundreds, saying, "You'll remember Dara Rittenhouse. She married not so long ago a nice man with some Swedish background named Robert Eklund. Dara has been checking hundreds of things which can be found right here at the University of California and has gone through a number of classical works for various passages quite successfully. She's gone back to the university for a course in librarianship and will most likely become associated with the School of the Library there. This helps me a lot." This is a typical letter from Boris Zirkov to Dara Eklund, in which he would type up a series of questions, leaving space for her to write an answer and return it to him. This was a system he had perfected with Mary Eklund over a number of, with Mary Stanley over a number of years. In addition to their work, Dara and Boris shared details of their everyday lives. She told about Dana having the mumps and what was going on with her parents. And here we have her thoughts tying theosophical principles to chess. It's a sevenfold system that she was considering. Here it says, enclosed is the first sheet of the new part completed. Thought of an idea on the rook for a sevenfold game of chess, in which I came across this passage in our children's life collection yesterday. The game originated in India, and Sanskrit was the language in use at the time. Now I think that the piece was originally a ship, and the word for that ship in Sanskrit is roka. When the game moved from India into Persia, the word became rook. When the Italians started playing chess, they called it rocca. That means fortress in Italian. And she went on talking about the rook a little longer. She said, perhaps it could be the vehicle of the inner man. Then if we are comparing the king to Atma, the queen to Buddhi, bishop to higher manas, knight to lower, and all the pawns to the various energies and skandhas of the complete being. Don't know, but it is curious. Dara and Nicholas participated in a wide range of activities with groups from across the spectrum of the Theosophical movement. She gave lectures at the Altadena Theosophical Library, at Crotona Institute of Theosophy, and at various lodge meetings of the Theosophical Society in America. She and Nicholas attended international theosophical conferences, the Secret Doctrine Symposium, and a monthly study group in the Ojai office of Dr. Richard Hildner. They hosted an annual solstice celebration and biweekly study group at their home, first in Studio City and later at Moore Park. Here's one of the solstice parties. I was fortunate to be at one of the Moore Park study meetings, and Dr. Hiltner was there, and Eldon Tucker and others. A few days later, I drove Joy Mills to a restaurant in Ojai to meet Dara and Nicholas for lunch, a delightful delightful opportunity for me to see old friends getting together. Over the years, there were many other social gatherings with Theosophists. Dara's life was entirely integrated uh, between her personal life and her theosophical life. There's a 1977 photo showing British astrologer Shelley von Strunkel, Dara, Boris in the middle, and Dara's Aunt Kay, and another woman whom I have not identified. Thanks to Janet Lee for identifying Shelley. Here is Dara at Eldon Tucker's house with a portrait of Gottfried de Puracher behind her on the wall. Here's Dara with Eldon Tucker and Anne Titov. In 1989, the Long Beach Theosophical Society presented Dara with a plaque in gratitude for her work, and she was clearly pleased. Dara wrote articles for many periodicals, beginning with Theosophia, Boris Zherkov's journal, writing as Anne Lloyd, Dara Rittenhouse, and Dara Eklund. And of course, she wrote for other magazines across the theosophical spectrum. And she also worked with publishing houses um, from the breadth and width of the theosophical movement. Point Loma Publications, Theosophical University Press, Theosophical Publishing House in Wheaton, Wizard's Bookshelf, the publications produced by Richard Robb, Theosophy Company, which is a ULT group, ISIS Foundation out of the Netherlands, and Crotona School of Theosophy, which produced some audiovisual materials featuring Dara. Much of her time went into the Blavatsky collected writings as she helped Boris Zherkov with research typing, proofreading, and indexing. Others helped him as well, including Hetty Mansky, Susan Hinojosa, Wanda Urban, Karen Eklund. In 1981, Dara went to visit Boris at his apartment in Koreatown and found him unconscious. After emergency medical treatment, she moved him to her own home, where she and Nicholas and a visiting nurse took care of him. He died there on March 4th. After the final issue of his magazine, Theosophia, was printed, Dara took over editing volumes 13 and 14 of the collected writings, working with Theosophical Publishing House, and also produced the Comprehensive Index, which is volume 15. Concurrently with this work, during the years 1975 to 93, Dara compiled William Quan Judge's writings as Echoes of the Orient in 3 volumes with a comprehensive index. The series was first published by Point Loma Publications in San Diego, with a revised second edition published in 2009 to 2011 by Theosophical University Press. Other contributions of theosophical literature include several articles in the Theosophical Encyclopedia and an edition of the Vedanta commentaries of H.P. Blavatsky. You can see from the citation at the bottom that Dara and Nicholas transcribed letters from HPB to Mr. Judge that are available on Daniel Caldwell's website. Dara and Nicholas aided John Algeo with the letters of H.P. Blavatsky, Volume 1, and undoubtedly helped many other people with other projects. Here are photos of them working on an index in 1990. Richard Robb wrote of Dara Eklund. She was absolutely dedicated, generous, hardworking, and equitable in her dealings with everyone. She was simply the best of the true theosophists. Dara passed away on August 4th, 2016. I'd be glad to take questions if you have any.
Thank you very much, Janet. We are opening for commentaries and questions now.